Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today we're going to look at how I analyze video film. So whether that's a professional game I'm watching or my own game film, as we'll see in the example in this video. This is a great step-by-step process that I use every time we have game footage to make sure that I'm taking notes and getting the key takeaways from the play that I do over the course of that weekend. The next week is usually a week of training, so we decrease load obviously in the beginning of the week, then increase load in the middle, and then decrease again at the end of the week in preparation for our next game. But during that time, it's really important to watch your own film, and especially for me, I get to look at the entire game and say, what are the things that I can do better? What are the things that I can help my team do better? And then collectively, how can we use those in order to win the game? So we're going to look at that today. So the first step is watching the game through all the way without taking notes. That's something that I would recommend for everybody to do. Obviously, this is probably about 3 hours worth of homework, so to speak, during the week, but it's really important, especially if you have aspirations of going to the professional game, of making sure that you can watch yourself and really analyze the movements that you're making and what's positive and what's not so positive. So the first thing is always watch the game through without taking notes. That way you can just absorb what's happening big picture and see what's going on. The second thing we're going to look at is taking notes. So taking notes on movement patterns, passing technique, shooting technique, crossing technique, making sure that you're checking your shoulder. All those little details are super important, and make sure you're writing them down and be really critical. One of the things that I would recommend for everybody is to make sure that you really look at yourself and you say, you know what? I'm looking at the infinite mindset, and I'm gonna say, I might have played really poorly one game, but I need to know the things that I did wrong in order to make them right. It's really easy to get caught up in, I'm improving every game, no problem, it's my teammates' fault, but really take extreme ownership of the play that you do during the game, and that will help you increase your increases, or in other words, make your gains in the game much quicker if you can look internally and say, you know what, I have confidence, but I'm also humble enough to realize that I'm not a perfect player. I'm gonna make mistakes, and I'm gonna take advantage of those mistakes, work on them in training so that I can execute them in the game. The third thing that I would say, the third key step, is to boil those notes down to a few takeaways. Now, I'm using, say, 5 as an arbitrary number. You can use however many you think is useful to you, but I use anywhere between 3 and 5 so that in the back of my head during training that next week, I know here are the 3 things that I want to take away from the past game and improve for the next game. It's all about incremental improvements. And shout out to my college coach, because his philosophy was always, if we can get 1 step better every game, that is what's important. Lo and behold, the team won the championship actually 2 years after I left the college. So super props to them. They built up, the coach actually came in my sophomore year and built it up to a championship program. So that's fantastic. Super proud of those guys, but it's all back to that philosophy that that coach had of let's build up 1 step at a time. Okay, so we are gonna start looking at the second half of a game that we played back in January or February time. I can't actually remember when this game was filmed. I'm going to do this a little more free flow, so if I'm stuttering or making mistakes, forgive me. I am just gonna go through this entire game as we, and I'll show you on screen what I'm talking about as well. So we are, press play. So we are the red team, the maroon team. The camera's actually right in front of the TV, so I can kind of look at you guys as well. I'm playing left back. I'm number 17, and I'm actually wearing the captain armband. Yep, so there I am. We get the long ball over. Make sure that that winger doesn't get it. So, and I'll pause. So, okay, so right there, we're gonna pause really quick. And I'm just gonna do an analysis of, and I've already done notes for this game, so I kind of know what I'm talking about, but I'll do this real time for you guys. So we're stopping at 1:12:14. So in that throw, there wasn't a ton of help behind where our center forward right on screen is, and so it's really challenging. I probably can't throw that far, so that was probably my best option. The other option might have been to get the ball into that center midfielder who had checked and then get it back and hit it up to the forward. So an okay throw, probably could have done better there, but let's keep it moving. We ended up winning this game pretty handily as far as I remember. And for the sake of this video, I'm actually going to just be doing analysis on myself. I have notes for the whole team, but that's kind of the coach's job and not my job. So for the sake of this video, I'll be focusing more on my own. So we'll let it run. Decent spell of possession here. All right, so this is checking back towards the ball, making sure that I'm staying as wide as possible. When the ball's on the other side of the field, I'll check in like a center midfielder, which is great for defending counterattacks. But as soon as I see that ball come over, checking my shoulder, get the ball, and I have time to turn. Good ball into my left side winger. And then I'm following because he vacated that space on the left wing. So I'm following up. I had support from my defensive mid there. So that was a good play. And I'll pause it right here, 1:13:38. So one of the things that I notice about myself in this particular play was that I won't play the audio, but in the audio I'm saying play quick, play quick, play quick, because I noticed that there's a guy about 20 meters away from me, and I'm checking my shoulder, making sure that the distance that he's covering isn't quick enough that I can just turn and I have time to turn in. As you saw, turn, play inside, that was the best option, simply to feed to the winger, and then he was able to turn out and play one of our opposite side forwards moving in, and that's one of the movement patterns that we sometimes work on in training, so that's super helpful. So let's press play again, keep going. So right there, I'm tucking in almost to the center circle so that I can act as a second 6 in case we lose the ball in counterattack. So right here, this is actually a great example. So Ajid will play the ball. So I'm gonna pause that really quick. So if you noticed before, what happened was Ajid was a one-on-one with that outside back. Now, Ajid is a player, and shout out Ajid, he's a player who's incredibly quick, super, super quick. His first step, he'll blow right by you. So there are certain circumstances in the game where I'll watch and look at where the defenders are, and if he doesn't have a center back who's covering that outside back, so if there's a 2v1 there, I'll actually tuck in like I did in that previous play so that he can have a one-on-one with the winger. Earlier in the game, he actually took that down the line and scored had an assist to one of our first goals. So that's something that I want to make sure, especially as an outside back, you guys understand, is that sometimes you want to occupy that inside space as sort of a second number 6 or a second center midfielder, and that way you can isolate that winger one-on-one, especially if they're a really quick winger. So ball comes out, and see how our number 6 is occupying my position now. So he'll get the ball. Ajid came center, and now I'm sitting basically on that sideline. So I'll pause it there again, 1:14:19. So this is actually a great example of what rotations look like. If you watch Manchester City or Barcelona sometimes, especially under Pep Guardiola, you notice that players are often in positions, or seems like in a freeze frame, they're in positions that they're not naturally meant to be in. So in this particular clip, I'm the highest guy on that left side. I'm basically playing as a left winger. Our left winger has moved as a second number 9 basically, our number 6 is our left back, and then our number 10 has become the pivot player, the number 6. So that's a type of rotation where that sort of forces the opposition to make sure they're shifting back and forth, and it's really confusing when you have to defend a situation like that. So in this situation, when our 6 has the ball, I'm just gonna sit on the sideline, because that way that defender has to choose between pressing our number 6 or pressing me, but he's gonna stay with me because there's space in behind that I could run into. Then we're recovering back as the ball's on the other side of the field. I'm making sure I'm opening my body. So always making sure I'm checking my shoulder, opening my body so that I can see both the ball and that other defender. So that long ball is gonna come over. Nobody's there, so I'm just gonna take my time. Just quick throw back to the keeper. He's got tons of space. It's a good spell of possession here. And again, I'm showing you guys kind of the whole thing. I didn't show you clips of just me because I want you to see the bigger picture as well, and how I go about doing these types of analyses. Okay, so we just got a foul. Goalkeeper has the ball. I'm gonna stay a little bit higher. Also depends on the type of football you're trying to play. If you're trying to play out of the back, then I'll stay a little bit deeper, but okay, so that ball comes out. We get the throw. Okay, so right here, I'm gonna pause it at 1:15:50. So I'm picking up the ball and I'm looking up and see, so Ajit is our number 7. Again, I'll reference him quite a lot because he's on my side. He's a one-on-one with that outside back, and that outside back was not very fast. Ajit is gonna torch him every time he gets space. And see how, if you guys look, the far side, or excuse me, their right side center back is way too close to our number 9. They're not kind of covering in a 2v1. So Ajit's got tons of space right there. So in the audio, you can hear me go, Ajit, go. And we'll press play again. And he takes off on his bike and gets around him. So there, I drop off, I'm looking backwards, making sure, and then this is a great header right into that space again for him, and we get a shot off. So I'll stop it there, 1:16:12. Okay, so that last play really quick, just as a last example. So this was, and again, this is just a random set of clips, so I'm just sort of adapting as I see it. But if you watched, I'm looking over my shoulder, making sure that we're even, or usually a +1 in the back. So that means we have 3 defenders, they have 2 attackers, or in whatever, we're a surplus basically. So I'm making sure that's the case so that I can stay a little bit higher, but I know that player, he's looking down, he's about to clear the ball up into our, or try to clear the ball into their forward. So I'm dropping a little bit, just making sure, but also supporting our winger, and I was able to get that ball. He kind of cleared it right into my head, so that was lucky on my part. But I was just able to direct that header down into our winger, and he was able to get a shot off. So it's all about being situationally aware. Okay, so now that we have that nailed down, that is the first, I guess, 5 minutes of the second half of one of our games. Obviously, you didn't get to see a goal or anything, but that's no matter. I just wanted to show you kind of what a basic 5 minutes looks like. So that's the type of commentary that I have going on in my head that I just shared with you. Some of the takeaways that I would say, one is making sure that I'm more conscientious on throw-ins, making sure that I understand spacing and that I have the confidence to play that 6 right to his feet, get the ball back, and then we play out of that. So that's one of the things. And then I didn't make a ton of mistakes actually in that first 5 minutes. But I would just say that making sure that our possession is a little more fluid, that's communication on my part, especially if I'm wearing the captain's armband. That's something that I have to be on top of. So in the mistakes that we make as collectively as a team, I'm going to say I'm responsible for those, because I'm not just because I'm a captain, but because I'm a defender. I can see the entire field. So I need to be directing that type of possession so that guys understand, hey, we don't have to force it. We got 90 minutes to play that ball. So those are kind of the key takeaways that I'll take out from this clip. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have any questions about how to edit your videos from a commentary standpoint, I'll probably have a video later in probably a month or so when I start to develop my highlight film for this season that starts in 2 weeks. I will show you guys how I actually splice up and edit all of my actual footage. But if you do have questions about how to commentate your own film, how to watch your film, how to become more analytic, more introspective, let me know in the comments below or shoot me a DM on Instagram. I've been answering some questions on there about a bunch of random different stuff with professional soccer and my journey. So feel free to contact me at Noah Cavanaugh Official on Instagram. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, be awesome. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.